updating it, not erasing it or replacing it with something shinier, not pretending the years it ran your life didn't happen. Updating it, the way you'd update any information that turned out to be incomplete, with honesty, precision, no drama. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding, not a tactic, not a hustle, a clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises, energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your Daily Power Boost. Welcome back to Daily Power Boost. Last episode, you named it. That belief that's been quietly collecting its tax for longer than you'd like to admit. And naming it was the necessary first move. But naming it without updating just leaves you with a clearer view of the same ceiling. So today, we do the next thing, not the comfortable thing, the useful one. Because updating a belief you've carried since childhood isn't a weekend workshop or 3 deep breaths or some new affirmation. It's a specific kind of honest work, and it's closer than you might think. There's a belief I carried for most of my life that I want to tell you about. The specifics are mine, but I suspect the shape of it will be familiar. I believed at a level I couldn't have articulated until well into adulthood that being too much, too direct, too certain, or too visible would cost me the room. Not a dramatic belief, but a quietly devastating one in practice. It showed up in how I softened things that it didn't need softened. How I'd read a room before deciding how much of myself to bring into it. How I'd shrink just enough to stay safe, and I called it social awareness. I eventually traced it back to specific moments and specific voices, conclusions a younger version of me drew about what happened when he took up too much space. What did I try at first that didn't even work? Affirmations. I told myself the opposite of the belief. I'm enough. I'm allowed to be seen. My voice matters. The belief looked at all of that, didn't even move. Because it had decades of evidence behind it, and I was offering it just a sentence. What actually worked was something less dramatic and much more precise. I stopped trying to replace the belief and started questioning the evidence it was built on. Not by dismantling the experience that created it. That was real and the conclusions made sense at the time. Instead, I asked a different question. I replaced, is this belief true, with, was the evidence I used to build it complete? The honest answer, no. A child reading a room doesn't have access to full information. They're drawing conclusions from partial data with an undeveloped interpretive framework. Which means the belief wasn't built on truth. It was built on the best available interpretation of an incomplete pictures. Incomplete pictures can be updated. We're not talking erased, updated, with fuller information available to the adult standing here now. Here's what the update actually feels like in practice. It doesn't feel like liberation at first. It feels like uncertainty. The belief, even a limiting one, has been providing structure. It told you what was safe and what wasn't, who to be in which rooms, how much to risk, and where the edges were. When it loosens, that structure loosens with it. And for a moment, that doesn't feel like freedom, more like groundlessness. That moment is not a sign that the update isn't working. It's actually a sign that it is. Because what comes after the groundlessness, when you've sat with it long enough to realize the ground was always there, it's a kind of steadiness that the old belief never provided. Not a steadiness of knowing what's safe, it's a steadiness of trusting your own wisdom, regardless of the outcome. That's the difference between a belief built for survival and an identity built for the life you're actually capable of living. Here's one action for today. Take the belief you named last time and ask yourself this: was the evidence I used to build this belief complete, or was it the best interpretation available to a younger version of me with limited information? Sit with that distinction, because if the evidence was incomplete, the belief isn't a truth you have to dismantle. It's a conclusion you get to update. And these are very different problems with very different solutions. If you've been trying to change a belief and finding that nothing sticks, it's likely because you've been trying to replace it rather than update it. That's the distinction worth exploring on a clarity call. We find the evidence the belief was built on, examine how complete it actually was, and start building a more accurate picture. You can find the link in the show notes. Next time, there's a ceiling most high performers hit that has nothing to do with skill, strategy, or even effort, and has everything to do with what they believe they're allowed to become. We're going to name it and look at what's just on the other side. With strength and heart, I'm Shawn Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.